And welcome again to Football's Global Hub. I am Russ Coleman. Joining me today as a special guest is Caleb Pongratz. We are on to discuss and go through, as a post-match show, the Revs victory 1-0 against DC United at Gillette Stadium. Caleb covered the match, and we're going to go through it probably for the next 45 minutes, and this should be a lot of fun. This is the first time I'm doing what I would call a post-match show on this show. Before I go on any further, I do want to welcome my guest to the show. Caleb, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Always fun to talk New England Revolution, especially once they're on a hot streak. So it's good to see this team back in winning ways, and it's always good to talk football, talk soccer.
It is, and I look forward to it. Listen, could you tell everyone where they can follow you? I believe you've told me it's Prost International, and is it Spot Track?
Correct. Yes. So I am a beat writer covering New England Revolution as well as Rhode Island FC and the New England Revolution 2. So that's MLS, MLS Next Pro, and USL Championship for Prost International. Additionally, I am the lead MLS content and data writer for Spot Track. So I deal with a lot of salaries, contracts, MLS league breaking news. So I do a lot of that. You can find majority of my articles there. If you want to talk to me on a day-to-day basis, you can find me on Instagram at Caleb_Pongratz, Twitter at Caleb Pongratz 10, and on Blue Sky at Caleb Pongratz. So I'm very online, so you can always find me.
You are everywhere, Caleb, and that's great. And listen, we need more people like you. So I am very happy to speak to you today. But let's get to it. Let's get into talking about the match before we go into really talking about talking points. I just want to get your opening thoughts of what we watched, what you watched as a journalist of this victory here.
Yeah, I think just looking at the grand scheme of things, I thought DC United played quite well. They came out with a very weak lineup. It was discussed in the press box, arguably, that DC United's bench was better than a lot of their starters for that game, especially with them not having Ty Baribo, their designated player forward, being out with a thigh injury didn't help them at all. But DC played an extremely high line, and it made it difficult for New England as well as DC to connect passes. For a large portion of the game, both back lines were roughly 30 to 35 yards apart, which kind of condensed the game very, 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 very tight. But overall, New England got a goal in the end from a great service into the area by Carlos Heel. It was chested down by Will Sands, played it to Dor Terjman, who I think should have shot the ball, but he laid it off to Alassane Youssef, and Youssef buries it. Youssef now makes the team of the week, and New England are running rampant at home, just kind of all over the place away, but they're winning their home games now.
So let me ask you, because we're going to get into this in the section where we go through talking points. I'm calling it Football's Global Hub Hot Takes. What do you make about the style play difference between – I want to just hone in on this because we'll talk about this during the show. I actually listened to Revolution Recap, and I guess some of the supporters see this as similar to Portoball. I see it very differently. I can talk a lot about this because the style of play under Mitrovic is extremely similar. I would say identical to how Fulham play. So for me, it wasn't like this. And I want to give DC United a lot of credit. They made the Revolution try to break them down, and they haven't been successful doing that. They're very good in the transition game right now. The part of the game where they're going to have to learn how to get better at is when they have the bulk of possession. I want to get your thoughts of both the differences between what you have seen under Porter and what you're seeing now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say arguably this is two different systems. Caleb Porter, when he was at the helm, struggled offensively. His teams did not do well. Just looking at last year alone, New England were 4 wins, 4 draws, and 9 losses at home and scored 20 goals. Okay, so 20 goals in 17 odd games. New England at home this season already has 10-3. So it's a completely different style of play going forward. Porter played a lot of a 4-2-3-1. He also played the 3-back system with whether it was a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, 3-5-2. Porter really didn't understand what system he had, whereas Marko Mitrovic came in and knew right away, I'm playing a 4-3-3. At occasion, it will look like a 4-2-3-1, but he brought a different style. And even when Marco came in, he noted the importance of the non-negotiables. And I have the quote here. Mitrovic reiterated the need for his fighting spirit in the locker room. For me, non-negotiable. Right. He noted that this Revolution team is going to attack. We will attack with the ball and we'll attack without the ball, and we'll be very aggressive in that attack. And you're seeing it firsthand.
Yes, agreed.
I think you never saw that with Caleb Porter. It was really just, let's roll the balls out and see what happens. Where Mitrovic has a style going forward. Mitrovic also was comfortable with this roster, but also made a couple of tweaks and some positives interjected into the roster. A lot of his guys, which every coach, whenever they come in, they're going to bring 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that they're familiar with. But additionally, Mitrovic came in having previously worked with 4 of the current Revs players. So I would argue it's a different system. Okay. A completely different system. I think Mitrovic's system is better. I think his style of play is better. And I would say as well, in the locker room, everyone loves him. There isn't a single bad thing I've heard about Marko Mitrovic. And I can't say the same for Caleb Porter. My article from last year says enough.
Okay, excellent stuff. All right, so let's enter the zone I'm calling Football's Global Hub Hot Takes, where basically they're talking points. So actually, I was going to start with something else, but since we've already started the conversation here, I'm going to really go back to what I really wanted to talk about, because I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, Caleb, that we're going to talk about the defense, but let's talk about, as you talked about, the style of play. What's interesting here is that I can watch this and I can see what they're trying to do. When they play the ball off in the back, you're going to see Carlos Gil try to be that player that they go to try to get the play moving. That's what a number 10 does in this system. I've seen it. I see what they're trying to do. They're also trying to force overloads. That's what I've seen with Fulham. The Revolution, it will evolve over time, but I see where they're trying to get their play from. Unfortunately, when you have a team that idea is to basically stop you from playing and play you on the counter, it's going to take a time to adjust. So let's talk about, because I've seen a different style from the Revolution from the other matches to this one because of the opponent. This one is specific to the opponent. I think this is the first time they went up against an opponent with a Mitrovic style, playing against a team that is basically there to stop you from playing.
Yeah, I think New England dealt with DC's pressure quite well. I think, again, it was a cage match. A lot of us really in the press box thought that this game should or could get ugly, and DC didn't falter. They obviously brought it to the game. I'm particularly not worried with how their offense is, especially with breaking DC United down. Again, reiterating it back to Mitrovic in the preseason, he mentioned Carlos Gil being one of the most talented players in the league. Yep. He said he was really looking forward to working with him, and said how much of an important piece of his game model Carlos is going to play. However, looking into New England's stats for this year, Carlos Gil has 0 goals and 2 assists.
This is true.
6 games in, Carlos Gil arguably doesn't look like Carlos Gil anymore, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing. It's just he doesn't have to do it all anymore. So I think the positives with this current New England Revolution team is there are a plethora of players that, one, have gained confidence, such as Luca Langoni, but yes, 2, have the ability to go forward. You have Griffin Yao now as an offensive option. Peyton Miller's getting into the attack. Al-Hassan Yusuf has 2 goals somehow. Brian Ceballos is scoring headers. You have Dort Tershman with a goal. Leo Campana obviously dealing with injuries, but he has a goal. It's not like we're seeing from last year where Carlos Gil ended the season with 10 goals and 14 assists. I don't know if we're going to see numbers like that. And it's really just because there's a lot more wealth to be spread out now. And that's a positive. It's a good thing to see. And kind of tying it back into breaking DC down, I'm not really worried. DC, we're going to bring it to, or came to make it a cage match, and I think they did a good job of doing it.
They did, and that's why I actually think this was a good test for the team to see how that they could progress out of that, because they're going to see this time and time again when teams figure out, well, listen, the Revolution right now are in the process of being a transition team where they're better on the counter. That's fact right now. They're very quick. It's very different. That's why I wanted to talk about the difference in the style of play, Caleb. This is not Portoball at all. It's completely different, but they have the ability to get players in the box, a decent amount of them, and if they can get the ball in the box, they have players that might be able to put the ball in the back of the net. And that to me is a big difference. Like you mentioned, I think that this system will also show, and it already showed in this match, a less reliance on Carlos Hill. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. All right, let's move on. And let's now talk about the other side. So I've seen a lot of talk about this on social media, and I get it. But these are 2 successive clean sheets. So do you think the clean sheet is deceiving or simply showing the progress with the Revs defense? Now, why I bring that up is because, again, I'll reference this a lot. We talk a lot about, with my other club, clean sheets. That's where you start. You have to get clean sheets, and you can build off that. When you have 2 successive clean sheets, is it more to do with them? Obviously, DC United missed some opportunities, some very good opportunities, but that's going to happen in every match, Caleb. I see the progress defensively, especially from the center backs. I have issues with the left back, but I thought he was good in this game. I think that's a weakness, but beyond that, I see a good partnership in that defense, and I see progress. Where do you fall on the clean sheet issue?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a little bit of both. I think the clean sheet definitely is deceiving.
Okay.
I think at times DC could have, and as well as should have, scored. There were 2 key instances, specifically in the game. One was off of a corner kick that Jacob Bartlett and Sylvain Hefty missed, both in the 70th minute. The ball got played into the box, went through traffic, and both of them collided with each other at the back post. Literally could have, you'd hit a barn door if you touched the ball. Yeah. So crazy how that didn't go in. And then additionally, Matt Turner becomes Matt Turner in the 92nd minute. He denied Joao Peglo from less than 6 yards. So I would argue that, yes, the clean sheet's definitely deceiving. And I'm comfortable with majority of the Revs defenders. I think Eli Feingold, fantastic player. Brian Ceballos, fantastic player. I'm not too sold on Mamadou Fofana. That's just a me take. I think he makes a lot of, I wouldn't say mistakes, but he's prone to take more risks than everyone else.
I've seen that.
So on average, in my opinion, you see one misplayed pass to a center midfielder going the other way, on average, about once or twice a game from Mamadou.
Well, that's one too many, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one too many.
I agree with you.
When it comes to left back, obviously Will Sands has been starting at left back for majority of the season right now, and that's because Peyton Miller missed almost all of preseason, so he's not match fit. He obviously has been building that match fitness. But arguably, I think right now, especially with the form that Will is in, you could go either option at left back, especially with Peyton's ability to go forward right now. He has 2 goals in 78 minutes, all games off the bench. Yeah. But 2 goals on 4 substitute appearances. He's the tied leading scorer with the team. Additionally, again, Brian Ceballos, tied leading scorer with the team with 2 goals. So there definitely are some positives in this back line. They've shown progress. They've shown consistency. They've shown the ability to obviously grow with each other, but they need to continue to build on that. And again, I think you're seeing a double-edged sword here. It's definitely deceiving, but there definitely is progress as well.
I can see where you're going on that. Very much so. Very good there, my friend. All right, let's move on. And I want to now focus on the starting 11, decisions that Marko Mitrovic made. Now, I'm glad that you've already mentioned the Peyton Miller, Will Sands thing. In my opinion, it should be flipped, meaning I would prefer to have, and we'll talk a little bit more about Peyton Miller coming up because I'm going to ask you what his best position is with the Revs and what's best for the Revs. But I would have started Peyton Miller and gone 60 with him. That's what I would have done. I think you ramp him up a little bit faster, but this is the decision he made. The question I have is the Jackson Ewell and Yusuf situation. I didn't like that, and he ends up changing that in the second half. What did you make of the starting 11? Did he get it right?
I think he got it right. I would personally maybe make one change to this lineup. I can understand the Peyton Miller take of him playing 60. However, at the same time, I think Marco, as well as Michael Morris and Chuck Hughes and the coaching staff, they obviously are aware that the Revs are playing Rhode Island FC on Tuesday in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. I think it's extremely likely that Jackson Ewell starts that game. Okay. So I think they took that into consideration of, okay, can we see how he does? And additionally, I believe Jackson Ewell has 2 assists this year, 1 assist maybe this year. I don't know if he's credited for it. But I believe he has an assist or 2 to one of the Peyton Miller goals. So I wouldn't say Jackson Ewell's been playing necessarily bad. He's got about 104 minutes of play, obviously gets his first start of the season. But the only change, I think, if you were to make a change here, is I would not have started Alhassan Yusuf. I wouldn't have started Brooklyn Reigns. I would have given him rest and started Yusuf as a defensive mid. Particularly, I think Yusuf playing on the wing is silly.
I agree with you.
He's a center mid or a center defensive mid. He is not a left mid or a left winger. And this club went out and signed not only Griffin Yao, but they also signed Diego Fagundes, who literally is a left mid. Additionally, Diego can play in that midfield if they play a 4-3-3. Yeah. And again, going back to the U.S. Open Cup, Diego's probably going to start and play majority of that game. I would be shocked if he doesn't start. Additionally, just like you saw the subs, Eric Klein got a couple of minutes. Eric Klein will probably start versus Rhode Island. And it's just, I think he got it right, but I would have looked at it a different way. Like, obviously still got the result done. Got it with Yusuf scoring, but I would have looked a little more of, okay, like I even mentioned at halftime. Yep. At halftime, I wanted Peyton Miller in for Will Sands. I wanted Diego Fagundes in for Alhassan Yusuf. Yeah. I wanted Eric Klein in for Brooklyn Reigns, not Jackson Ewell. I wanted Marco Zambrano to come into the game to make his debut for Dort Hershman. And then additionally, looking at this bench, you have Ethan Kohler, Tanner Beeson, and Andrew Farrell. Highly likely that all 3 of them are going to play against Rhode Island.
Sure.
So pick one. Pick one and put them in for one of the defenders.
Do some rotation. I get it.
Do one. Yep. Especially against a DC United side that was extremely weak. I mean, looking at DC United's team, they had Stroud on the bench, didn't even play. Caden Clark came off the bench. Luis Montanao, who's one of their DPs. Ty Baribo was out. They have Aaron Herrera playing right mid, and he hasn't had a match rating above a 5 this year. Like, I understand, like, you don't get the roster or know who you're playing, but when you're playing against DC and Gabriel Pirani is subbed at, I believe, halftime, like, they have nothing going forward. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But going back to the point, I think you got it right. Okay. But I would have made a couple of changes.
Okay, and that's fair. And I would agree with your assessment on that. All right, let's now talk about Matt Turner, because I've seen a lot of talk about Turner, about obviously bringing him in the way that they brought him in. He obviously came to the Revs to try to become the starter for the U.S. men's national team. That does not look likely. However, I think we're starting to see the best of Matt Turner once again. It's not there yet, but it's coming close. And when you have a goalkeeper making a save to save you 3 points, That's what you're looking for. He's not the best goalkeeper in MLS, but he might get back to that level. Do you think Matt Turner is returning to that type of level, Caleb?
I think he's on the right trajectory. I don't think he's returned there yet. Again, getting two back-to-back shutouts this week against DC, last week against Montreal, though weaker sides, that definitely does help Matt, especially coming off of that thrashing he took against Belgium. And I'll be honest, looking back at that Belgium game, Matt did not have that bad of a game. He did not.
That wasn't on him.
His defense was atrocious in those games. Do I think Matt's going to start at the World Cup? No, unfortunately. I think Matt Freese is going to be the starter. I've been very outspoken about who I think should go to the World Cup. I think Freese should be there and Matt Turner should be there, play the hot hand. And then I want them to send Diego Cochin from Barcelona to go because he's 20 and he's unbelievable. Why not give him a run out at the World Cup, get experience? But going back to it, I think Matt Turner is obviously trending in that right direction. Again, he's still on loan. His loan, I believe, expires June 30th of this year. So Matt, obviously, at the same time, he's been playing well. Matt is on loan. So he is going to return to Olympique Lyon in Ligue 1 if New England do not activate the purchase clause. That purchase clause, I'm told, is around $3.5 million. Obviously, he joined Lyon for 8 million euros, which I think is about 7.5 million from Forest. Yeah, Nottingham Forest.
Yep, Nottingham Forest.
So I think Matt's obviously playing for, one, his job, because I would assume if the Europe dream is dead, I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. Yeah. Kurt Adolfo has already been very outspoken. Sporting director Kurt Adolfo has been outspoken that they're going to do everything in their power to keep Matt Turner here. He said that at the Revolution season ticket member event back in February or January, one of the two. February, January, might have even been March. I don't know. But again, going on that, I think Matt's definitely returning or trending in the right direction. But I would not say he's returned to that level yet.
Okay.
Excellent. But good trajectory so far.
I definitely think so. And that's why, for me, Caleb, I think it's invaluable to have a goalkeeper at a very high level like this, especially in a league where it could come down to a big save. And I know that you're going to get it from this guy. And he showed it again. So he's not at that level yet. But like you said, he's kind of playing for a job, 2 different jobs. So I think you're going to get the most out of him, at least probably through June. All right, let's move on. Let's get back to talk about Peyton Miller. I'm very fond of Peyton Miller. In fact, I would get my my club Fulham to take a look at him. I know that probably doesn't make a lot of people happy, but I think Peyton Miller's trajectory is in Europe. It probably won't be the Premier League right away, but who knows? It could be. So Peyton Miller, what is the best position? If I'm making you Mitrovic, where would you play him? And then we'll talk about what you think the Revs are ultimately going to do with Miller. You're Mitrovic. What would you do?
I personally believe that Peyton Miller should play left back. I think he should play left back, at least in this Revs system. I think that he has the ability where he can fly forward. So the New England, I'm confident enough in New England's back line enough for Peyton to fly forward and go even further and further and further. So I would rather him play it at the back and just do the running, especially with the number of attacking players that we have, whether it's Diego Fagundes, like I mentioned, Griffin Yao, Zambrano, when Leo Campana's healthy, does Terjman go wide now?
He could.
It's now you run into the forever question of, okay, we're running out of time. Where do we want to put him? How do we get him minutes? But yeah, I think Miller should play his roots. I mean, additionally, he is comfortable at left wing. He played left wing for the U.S. men's national team or youth national team. Sorry.
Yep.
Played for Marco Mitrovic and Michael Morris as a left winger and a left back. So he's obviously comfortable with doing both. But in regards to this Revolution team, I think he would be best suited at that left back position. And additionally, building on that as well, Peyton's biggest thing for me is his best position is getting on the field. Because right now he's dealt with injuries every single year he's started his career. So I think Peyton objectively needs to work on remaining fit, because
I agree.
He's missed now. The third consecutive season now he's missed the first game of the season. So in 2024 it was his foot. In 2025 it was groin. 2026 it's his calf. So you're looking at an 18-year-old defender that is being scouted by English Premier League teams. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Boguer and I believe Taylor Twellman's even mentioned Man City was thinking about
Man
18
City,
million,
which is insane.
City.
So
I think once it officially happens, I don't know when it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. It's just when. Yeah. I think he does go to the Premier League. I think he does, okay. But I think it turns into okay, you've signed for Man City. Now go play for PSV Eindhoven on loan. I think it's going to be one of those.
I agree with you. Well, that's
in my opinion.
No, listen, you're on to something. That's why if I'm him, I might not sign with Man City, because I know what happens when you sign with Man City. And I might go the other way and go for, I'm going to say it, a club like mine, or a club that you could start your career in the Premier League and then make your move. But it's going to be difficult if a club like Man City is coming after you. I would say that. And I agree with you, Caleb. I think his best position, and for the team, is left back, because in the system that they're playing, when you have they want to have a left back and a right back like Feingold going up and down like that, it is really valuable. Again, nothing against Will Sands. He's doing a decent job. I've been critical, but he is doing a decent job. I think Miller gives you more dynamism, excuse my language, going forward, but he can also defend. So for me, that's what I would do. All right, let's talk about the striker issue, because I've seen a lot of this. Now, I'm going to bring in some discussion on this, because I've watched a lot of different strikers in my life, and I see them judged by the amount of goals that they score or don't score. And I'm glad that you brought this up earlier, because I listened to the talk as well that Turgeman should have taken the shot that he actually gave, which turned out to be an assist for the goal to Yusuf. So there are two ways to look at it. Do you just judge your striker on goals he scores, or on what else he brings to the table? And I look at the overall game. I just don't think a striker is just about scoring goals, Caleb. Some others will disagree with me that that's their only job. I disagree, because if you have a good striker that can get your teammates involved, I think that is very valuable. Where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I'm on the agreement that it's not just a striker is not just judged on the goals he scores. It's what he brings to the team overall. I think as well with this New England system, it's a little different, and players get judged differently, because Dor Turgeman is a U22 player, whereas Leo Campana is a TAM player. Their salary definitely becomes a conversation. Yeah. Specifically, when you look at it, Leo Campana for New England, he's got 8 goals in 26 games, which isn't bad. But then you look at Dor Turgeman with 4 goals in 9. So you start making those comparisons of, okay, who's the better player? And then you start taking into age, experience, everything. So I would say, again, I don't think they should be just judged on the goals they score. Building on that, every player has their own style. Dor Turgeman likes one-on-ones. He likes taking players on. He likes getting in behind. He's good in the air. Whereas Leo Campana is not really a poacher, but he is a different system. You don't really see Leo Campana running 40 yards out to the wing to then take a player one-on-one, where you take into account play styles as well. So I think with New England, it's two different styles up top. I personally prefer Dor Turgeman up top. I think he's the best offensive option we have.
Okay.
Or New England has right now. Additionally, Leo Campana needs to work on getting healthy.
Yeah.
especially when he wants to play in the World Cup. Obviously, he should be cleared, I think, right before Ecuador announces their roster, but I'm worried that he's going to go to the World Cup with Ecuador and get hurt again. It's going to turn into a forever revolving door of, all right, he's here, he's healthy, he's hurt. He's here, he's healthy, he's hurt. He scored 2 goals, he's here, he's healthy, he's hurt. So we need to find that consistency, and I don't think New England has had like the last striker I think that was judged on goals versus what they bring on their team was probably Adam Buksa. Adam Buksa was judged on how many goals he scored, whereas
sure was, yeah.
Whereas Gustavo Bo was, what does he offer to the team? And it was like, whoa, both strikers, 2 different comparisons. Yep. So it's the same conversation again and again.
No, that's a good point. And what's interesting about Turgeman, I think Turgeman is more like Bo and in style of play, but you're asking him to be Campana, if that makes sense, because he's target man. They want him to be more of the target man right now because that's what the position is being asked in the system. However, that's not really what he is about, but he is running his socks off because I watch him. And it reminds me of what I watch, and I keep bringing this up with Raul Jimenez. Jimenez is not a target man, but he works his tail off for the team. Rodrigo Muniz is more like Campana. So I keep going back and forth with that, but I think that he's doing a good job. And Caleb, I think you will attest to this, and then we'll move on and then break down the match. I think you know a goal scorer when you see it. Dor Turgeman's a goal scorer. Would you agree with me? You either have it or you don't.
100% he's a goal scorer. He is a threat anywhere within 30 yards of the net, in my opinion.
Okay, excellent. All right. Coming up next, Caleb and I are going to break down this match for about the next 15 minutes, and we'll end with the very first man of the match. Okay, my friend, let's get to it. Let's go through the first half, and I'll just get us going by talking about how the match began. And I was a little bit surprised by what I saw in the early stage. You had an opportunity from the Revs, but you really had an incredible opportunity from DC United that he should have scored on. It hits the post. The Revolution were lucky that did not go in the back of the net. What did you make about we'll just talk about the early stages, the first 10 minutes of the match.
First 10 minutes, DC came out high in intensity. Obviously, Matty Peltola with that long shot. I think Turner saw it late. I don't know if he got a touch on it or not, or if it just struck the post and the outside of the post and went out. But obviously, that was 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the game. So obviously, it was a gut punch right away. New England obviously had a chance about 2 or 3 minutes later. After a great combination play between Langoni, Huel, Heel, Turgeman, and it ended up on a shot from Feingold that went wide in the net. And then again, Aaron Herrera gets another opportunity for DC where he gets in behind. I believe Mamadou Fofana kept him onside, and his right-footed shot from 6 yards out went literally just wide of the right post. If he had any inkling of not having a 5.0 match rating throughout the entire season so far, anyone else probably would have scored that. So looking at the first 10, 15 minutes, DC United had majority of the chances.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what I noticed too. Again, you had the opportunity from Feingold early on, but early on, again, they came out with this intensity, but then afterwards you have the opportunities from the Revs. Before we talk about the goal, because I definitely want to talk about the goal, let's talk about what you saw after those first 10 minutes. And then you saw the Revolution really, I would say at times look dangerous, but then struggle to break down this team.
Yeah, I think, again, looking at the first half, I thought, and I even tweeted it, I thought Carlos Heel had the worst first half of his entire Revolution.
I saw that.
He played horrible in that first half. However, he still got an assist later on, which we'll talk about. However, I think Luca Langoni he's been on fire, number one, but he had a couple of shots that led to a parry save by Sean Johnson. Yep. I believe Turgeman had a chance in behind that obviously got taken out of play. I think New England kind of just slowed the game down just a little bit because the first 10, 15 minutes was really chaotic of who's going to punch who first. They then analyzed and noticed DC's high line. They looked to try and break that down. They did so. And their combination play is what essentially got them their goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's go right to that, because I'm glad that you talked about Carlos Gil. He does the pass all the way across to Will Sands, ends up with Turgeman, and then I know what you're going to say about Turgeman. Should he have taken the shot? Maybe, but he actually passes it off to Yusuf, who puts in the back of the net. Regardless of the situation with Turgeman, the criticism, they still get the goal. What did you make of this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I thought Carlos Gil had the worst half of his Revs career, but he also can play an 80-yard diag ball on a dime. So Carlos Gil is still Carlos Gil, whether people mention it all the time on social media, and they say respectfully the dumbest things in the world. Carlos Gil's washed. Carlos Gil's this. Carlos Gil's that. I poked the bear. Carlos Gil is still Carlos Gil. He is still a MVP. And this goal is literally the perfect example of it. He can play a diagonal ball on a dime. Will Sands has an unbelievable chest trap right to Tor Turgeman's feet. He takes an intriguing touch that lofts the ball back in the air. He then wins his 50-50 duel. And yeah, he lays it off for Yusuf. Yusuf is wide open, unmarked, right in front of the 6. I would hope he scored it, and obviously he does. So I think New England obviously can build on this. Again, there's a lot of players going forward, and this builds back to even our first conversation. Marko Vicevic wants everyone to attack. Alhassan Yusuf, I don't think, has ever scored more than 2 goals in a single season his entire career. And he's got 2 goals right now.
Yep.
Like, it's just right place, right time. We're going to attack. We're going to do it the right way. And I think New England obviously took their chance. They succeeded, and it's a positive to see, one, Carlos Gil come alive and play a ball that we all know Carlos Gil can play, and then obviously get a result out of it.
Okay, excellent. All right, so the Revs now have the lead. Did not build on it. In fact, DC United were pushing for the equalizer, I would say, at the end of the first half, but we see the half end at 1-0 or 1-0, whichever way you want to look at it, and we go to the second half. So let's now transition to the second half. And even though the Revolution, I probably wanted to quickly get another goal, DC United were looking for that equalizer. That's where I really want to go on this. And definitely, this is what happens when you're the team behind. You are going to push. And they look dangerous, I got to tell you. But as you said, and let's be fair, they did not have really any end product. They did not have any cutting edge. They really had no one that could put the ball in the back of the net, but they did have opportunities. As you mentioned, should have scored. 2 men in the same place, should have scored.
Yeah, I think the 69th minute to the 76th minute, or 72nd minute, I apologize, was where DC United looked the most lethal. Jackson Hopkins had a chance in the 69th minute. He was driving into the area, tried to play a cutback ball. Brooklyn Reigns clears it. I thought he was going to kick it into his own net. It obviously got lucky because he was like, all right, I'll kick it out, whatever. 3-4 yards max from that left post. And then obviously just a minute later, the corner kick that I mentioned where Bartlett and Hefty combine, clash with each other. So you take moments of the game. That's 2 chances right there within a span of less than a minute and a half. Yep. The DC should have scored both. And I think arguably if Ty Bariba was in this game, both of those are goals. Both of them are goals. So I think building back to what we said, like, oh, is the clean sheet like vague or is it not? This is where it shows product placement. DC probably should have gotten 1, 2, questionably 3 when we talk about the later one as well.
Yep.
3 goals, which they left out for nothing. They just went beckoning.
Sure. And listen, I would agree with that. But to be fair, now we're going to talk about the opportunities for Peyton Miller and Turgeman, because I could argue that both of them should have scored on their opportunities. Miller, actually really good saves by Johnson on both of these opportunities. these opportunities, and again, the one thing that I want to highlight when we just talk about Turgeman is the deliveries on set pieces have been phenomenal. And I don't know where this has come from, Caleb. I'm not used to seeing deliveries on set pieces like this with the Revolution. They've been great. And I think you had two quality opportunities, and Turgeman actually had another one, but he just it was a terrible shot. But they had some opportunities.
Yeah, I think Turgeman had obviously two. I think the best one was in the 80th minute. Free kick sent into the area, I believe, by Griffin Yao.
Yep.
Was led to a header by Dorr that was met with an unbelievable Sean Johnson save. That looked like 2022 World Cup Sean Johnson.
That's right.
So great save there. And then 5 minutes later, obviously Peyton Miller has a chance as well. I think he had a one-time volleyed strike that I think hit the post or hit the side netting. I'm not sure exactly. And then we go forward another 4 minutes. Turgeman has a bicycle kick that goes almost right over the bar, just right over the bar.
Right.
And then Peyton Miller again has another chance where he looks to do a back heel in the 6-yard box. Sean Johnson gets a good touch on it, and the ball is cleared away. I think building off of, like you just mentioned, with set pieces, New England has had a set piece coach for, I believe, the last year and a half, Mark Esteban Ortiz. New England, I'll be very blunt, were horrific at set pieces last year. So it's really good to see the progress that Mark has been integrating into the squad rub off. So seeing that continuity within the group, as well as adding now Griffin Yao to the fray. Luca Langoni is now doing set pieces. It adds a little twist to things, because usually you think, all right, free kick within 40 yards, Carlos Steele shooting. Not anymore.
No,
not anymore. So it's good to see the positives on set pieces, but also Miller and Turgeman getting into areas of behind. Obviously Miller gets replaced at the end of the game.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. I was just about to ask you about that. So you actually tweeted about this. So talk about, because I was very concerned. And you had a really good quote. So if you could share that, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So we're in the press conference room. Sean Donahue actually was one of the people who asked the question relating Miller. He had asked if it was a muscular injury. And the coach goes, no, it was a chaotic moment towards the end of the match. We're discussing it on what type of sub they wanted to make. You have a player like Eric Klein, who is a high potential player. And in that moment, they said that they were talking about a couple of different options to bring players off and bring Eric into the midfield, just to kind of shut the game out, add a little bit more solidity in the midfield. And in that moment, knowing that there was very little time remaining in the half, he mentioned that Peyton took a hit somewhere. He said he wasn't going to mention it.
I think I got an idea.
I think we can read the context clues there. It was not a muscular injury. So in that moment, the team kind of just decided Peyton's down, not entirely sure. Let's not risk it. Let's sub him immediately. So they take Peyton off. They kill time off the clock as well, even though it's not really a lot. You get Eric into midfield, slow the game down. And according to the coach, Michael Morris, Peyton should be fine. So
okay, excellent.
That is the context clues now. We'll hopefully see. I personally want Peyton Miller to start versus Rhode Island FC to build that fitness, like we mentioned. But we will find out probably at training tomorrow whether or not Peyton is training with the group and good to go.
Okay, excellent. And obviously, we could talk about the very end of the match. It got a little chaotic. And again, this is when you need your goalkeeper to step up and make a huge save. Make yourself big. That's what Matt Turner did. Saves the match, saves the 3 points for the Revolution. Because I got to tell you, when I saw that, you were there. I'm watching on Apple TV Plus, and I'm thinking, I can't believe it's going to be a 1-1 draw. But Matt Turner came up.
Yeah, Matt Turner really showcasing why he's Matt Turner. I think he obviously made an unbelievable save on Joao Peglo. Shocked he didn't score that, to be honest with you. Absolutely shocked. But again, that just shows who Matt Turner is. it's just the type of game. It's the game where you need your goalkeeper the most. And like you just mentioned, I can't believe this is going to be a draw. Let's look back at the last season when New England played DC United. Eli Feingold had a first half goal. What happens in the 91st minute? Gabriel Pirani scores a top left corner goal on Alja Zivacic, and you blow away 3 points. So thankfully that didn't happen this time, but it's objectively the same play. It's the same play, just a lot closer, and you have a U.S. men's national team arguably number one or comfortable number two in net, and thankfully he makes the save. One thing about Matt, which I think is really funny, is he made the save. The ball was still in play, and he's there fist bumping, screaming, and we're just sitting there in the press box like, yo, Matt, the ball is still in. The ball is still in. Okay, now it's out. But it's just, you know that internally for Matt, he needed that one. And I think him making that save, obviously, that's going to instill confidence in him. And that also instills confidence in that back line and trusting Matt Turner. And I think that's who Matt Turner is. That's who Matt Turner is. It's Matt Turner.
I totally agree. And that's why I wanted to highlight him in this show. And I'm glad we actually ended talking about the match with Matt Turner, because I think it's very valuable to have him. And we'll see what happens after June. If he's still with the New England Revolution, I actually really hope so. Okay. All right, Caleb. You know, it's funny. I don't see many shows doing this. Well, man of the match. It's something I do all the time. So I'm going to ask you, who's the man of the match?
So you gotta think about it. Al-Hassan Yusuf got named to MLS Team of the Week. However, I would give man of the match to Matt Turner. I think Matt Turner saves you in this game. I think without Matt Turner, you arguably lose this game. I think Yusuf had a good game. He gets a little bit of a friendly bump with the goal. But again, I would personally say that Matt Turner was my man of the match.
Okay, and I would agree. I was going to say Matt Turner myself. So I'm with you on Matt Turner. It's funny because if you look at the ratings, Yusuf is I think the highest rated Revs player if you look at different rating systems.
8.7.
Yeah, so listen, I get it, but if you're asking me with the eye test and the impact, it's Matt Turner for me. So I agree with you on that. All right, Caleb, thank you so much for doing this show. Like I said, I wanted to do a post-match show of a Revs game, and I just really appreciate you joining me. I hope you enjoyed it.
For sure. Yeah, no, I really did enjoy it. I love talking professional soccer, professional football. I love talking New England Revolution. Again, anything New England soccer related in this area, I'm probably involved with it some way or another. So anything to talk more soccer and get the word spread about the beautiful game.
All right. And listen, I really appreciate you joining me. Hopefully you can come back soon. I just want to mention, if you don't already follow Caleb, you really need to. And you also need to read him on Spot Track and also on Prost International. He does a wonderful job. And like I said, let's hope he comes back soon and gives us some great insight like he did today. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Football's Global Hub. My name's Russ Goldman. He is Caleb Pongratz. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening to Football's Global Hub.